Welcome back to Jump Scare. I'm Shad.
And I'm Betty.
And today we're going to talk about some of our favorite movies from the last decade. We each made our own list and without talking to each other and found out there was a little bit of overlap.
There is a bit of an overlap, surprisingly.
So we'll talk about our overlap ones first so we don't have to talk about them twice. Now, at least on my list, the first one that we both shared was It Follows, which to me was kind of a surprise when it came out because I heard a little bit about it, but not too much really. And then went and saw it and was, blown away by how it was shot, the creepy feel of it. It was just different than anything else that had been out at the time.
Yeah, it definitely reminded me of Carpenter's work. I'm not going to say that it ripped off style because so many people have, used Hitchcock's style of filming. So I just think it's one of those things like, you either use a certain technique and you create a whole new story with it. And I found the movie very intriguing. I actually went looking for the film because I heard so much about it, and then it had gotten a wider release because it started off as just, independent film that was only going to be shown in select theaters like art houses and whatnot. And I love the film. I believe I've seen it twice. It scared the shit out of me. I had nightmares for weeks. I've just come to a point where I can actually talk about it because there are so many images in the film that really shook me. But I guess it's just one of those things like, what you're afraid of. That whole Dahlia kind of opening with the body all contorted and weird. Even though obviously Dahlia, was missing pieces and whatnot. But just that whole lawn, the whole opening shot is what, you're like, holy shit, that's how you started the movie? That's intense.
Yeah, it just gets crazier from there.
Yeah, and Malik Monroe's in it, who we've talked about several times. She's been in other, horror films.
She's in another movie that's on my list,
So, that was 2015. And as I was going and looking for the years of the list, 2014 and 2015, a lot of movies came out during that time frame that actually made both of our lists, surprisingly. So,
was it Follows 2015? I thought it was 13.
Well, it was released in 2015.
Oh, okay.
So it may have been made in 2013. But yeah, the music. The music was amazing. It's just, the use of camera work. A lot of people hated the fucking film. And it's just one of those things because it blew up. And then people were like, man, they had to throw their 2 cents about it. But the music, the camera work, everything just together is just a recipe for...
The whole, production design. All the places looked like real houses that you could see, They didn't look like a set. It looked like a real house that they were just filming in. All right, so It Follows. Now, we're not putting these in any special order, this is number 10 or this is number 9. These are just our favorites, not in any special order.
It was released in March of 2015, but 2014 is the date that they have it. So it's one of those things because I'm sure it was around the circuit, and then it went nationwide, Well,
the next one that we have in common is another super creepy one that I didn't really see coming, and that one is Sinister. You want to talk about a freaky opening shot? You just open up with the whole family hanging themselves from the tree.
Yeah, and the music. It's for me, it's definitely like a relationship between imagery and music. If you're able to pull that off, because remember the story of Halloween? They played Halloween without the music, and it was like, I really don't see what the whole big deal is. It's not really that scary movie, but once they added the music, you're like, oh, okay, I get it now.
Well, the Sinister is kind of the, all these found footage movies, they're always there's always a ghost in the woods or in the house or something that's bothering them, and you just get little glimpses of it. Well, this is like the story behind the found footage. Somebody else is going to find these tapes and these films later, and they're going to watch them, and that's kind of like, here's the story behind the footage you found of everything creepy. You know why it happened now.
Yeah, I love the fact that it was actually film on a reel, like old school. It wasn't like VHS tapes. They really went real back.
Yeah, I don't think they can really do a haunted tape anymore or a creepy tape anymore after The Ring. They're just going to be seen as copying that. But you can still get away with a creepy film, because there's something even creepier about that, because you have to go out of your way and find a projector, set it up, put it at the wall. It's not as convenient as just shoving in a videotape.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I bought this house, and you guys may or may not agree, but sometimes people just leave, and they leave those remnants behind. That shit's hidden, it's in the attic. It's obviously there, whether Bughuul, the sorry, because I'm thinking about Sinister 2, where Bughuul does just still watch Sinister 2. It's really terrible.
Well, I keep hearing it now, where it's like, I love the movie, but I love how Vincent D'Onofrio just shows up for like a Skype call to tell him, oh, you got yourself a Bughuul problem. Seems like he's like the janitor on The Simpsons that shows up, or the repair guy that's like, oh, you got yourself a Bughuul problem, huh? And he gives him like a quick fix for it. Except it didn't really work in this one.
No, it did not. Ethan Hawke, who I'm not a big Ethan Hawke fan, so I was looking forward to seeing him die in the movie. Spoiler alert, I got my kicks off because he did. I think that may have been the same year that The Purge came out. I may be wrong about that, but that had been like the year for Ethan Hawke to be in horror films.
Yeah, and get murdered.
And get murdered. Yeah, he definitely got murdered plenty of times. I also like the fact that it was the kids all along, because I'm not going to say it had never been done, but usually the whole thing was like, you don't mess with like the kids. The kids are not really doing the killings, per se, but in this one, obviously they're being driven by a sinister force to do these things, but seeing the reveal in the end, it's very shocking.
Yeah.
Or don't I say in the end? I would say kind of like in the middle-ish. But I love all the family films, and I love just how you think it's like the names of it. It's like The Day at the Barbecue. You're like, oh, they're doing a barbecue, and then everyone gets burned up, which that was not one of the films, but.
Yeah. Mowing the grass, that was a tough one.
Oh, yeah.
They mowed the grass, all right.
They did. So that one came out. I don't know what year that came out, but it was co-written. This is how some of these directors and like co-writers go off and to do like amazing things by the guy that directed Doctor Strange.
Yeah, Scott Derrickson.
Yeah, so it's just one of those like.
Well, he had he had a pretty good hit with like The Exorcism of Emily Rose, and then they gave him that Day the Earth Stood Still with Keanu Reeves, and it was like a $200 million bomb. And he didn't get any movies for a long time after that, so they had to find a real small budget one that he could do again.
Yeah, well, that movie came out in 2012.
Yeah.
So that's just one of those like, oh, and that's I would say that film is actually the oldest one on the list. Because we kind of focus on a certain, like I said before, like certain like years, like 2 years, but didn't really. I'm really thinking like it was so hard to actually do this list. When we talked about it, I was just like, I really have to go through every movie from like the last like 9 years. That's intense, because there are a shit ton of movies.
Yeah, it was a few of mine that go a little further back than that, I think, than 2012, but.
Oh, that's right, because I'm focusing on my list, so you're probably right. On my list, that's the oldest one.
All right, so that was Sinister. And then the next one is, I think you like a little more than I do. I enjoyed it a lot, but is Starry Eyes.
Starry Eyes. I have to say on my list, a lot of my list is cult-driven, which that has become, I want to say that has become a thing. That's been a thing for fucking 40 years or whatever. But a lot of cult movies on my end.
Yeah, this is the one that, like, this will show you exactly how far people will go to get ahead in Hollywood.
If I was not maybe the smartest person or as a conspiracy theory person, like when the film ended, I was like, and that's how you get famous.
Yeah.
Because she sold her fucking soul. She just gave it up, per se, and was reborn to be a star. And, you know, everyone in Hollywood is part of, like, some kind of cult, right? Like,
Yeah.
they have to be. So it was so, like, interesting to see, like, all the execs and all the head, you know, people, all the top
Studio heads and
people
all that.
behind the scenes be there waiting for her rebirth into this.
Yeah, it's a super creepy movie. That's another, like, just small indie one that came out of nowhere, and then when you watch it, it just blows you away with how creepy it is.
Yeah, well, it obviously gave some, I want to say heads up, but it just, and I also don't want to say catapulted, but Kevin Klosh and Dennis Weidmeyer also did the most recent Pet Sematary.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's one of those, like, okay, you're able to do this with this, let's see what you can do with this. We both saw the new Pet Sematary. We didn't cover it, right? We just decided we're not going to do that.
It was just kind of like, it was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible either. It was just there.
It wasn't. I mean, from Starry Eyes to Pet Sematary, it's like, what happened?
Well, the problem is, like with any of those things, they're doing a big movie and a big property, and there's 50 people telling them what to do behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's
Starry
true.
Eyes, nobody cared. They were like, oh, you handed it in on time and under budget? Great. We'll put it out. With Pet Sematary, they've got 50 different people with ideas on what they're going to do about it, you know?
Yeah, another one where the music, like, makes the movie, and Alexandra Esso,
Yeah, Esso, I think it is.
she really, like, pulled that shit off. Her transformation, her, you know, everything that she did in the film really was super creepy. And she actually was the Wendy Torrance in the new
in the new
Doctor Sleep. So, you know, I could totally see her as Wendy. You know, she has the look about her. She did a really good job in the movie. I really do like that movie. It took me by surprise because I have already low expectations for anything that's modern. And when I saw it, which was on Netflix, I was like, oh, okay. This is a pretty decent movie. Another one that we actually liked, that movie came out in 2014. I have a lot of 2014 and 2015 films. So that's a 2014er. Daniel, Is It Real?
Yeah, that one came out last year, and we got to see that at a early screening at Popcorn Fried. So we actually got to talk to the director, Adam Egypt Mortimer. And that movie is crazy. And it's crazy in the way that I really like it because it goes all out for it.
It sure does. It's based on the book, In This Way I Was Saved. And you don't know exactly what you're getting into in the film, unless obviously you read the novel beforehand. And there was a lot of imagery. I love the story. Everyone involved in the film, all the actors, I mean, even down to the ones that were just on the screen for a little bit, everyone was just very convincing. They were in it to win it. Patrick Schwarzenegger is in it, and I was like, oh, okay, this is happening. And his performance was just so captivating, but yet so fucking evil. I don't.
And then the other character in it is someone's son as well. I forgot who is it.
Bill Paxton?
No, that's a different one. That was that vampire one from the year before. The other main character in it is also someone's son, and I can't remember who it is right now.
I can't remember who it is either. It was fun talking to Adam. We actually discussed the film with him after we had seen the film. We were supposed to talk with him beforehand, but he really wanted us to see the film so we can have a better discussion about it. We we tried not to give away the stuff that actually happens in the movie. But that was kind of hard because there's just so many like things that happen.
It's Tim Robbins' son, because he said this movie was influenced a lot by Jacob's Ladder, and then he ends up with Tim Robbins' son in the lead on it.
Yes, Miles Robbins. Yes.
Yeah.
And what was the other? I love the poster.
Oh yeah.
The poster is just like, you look at it and you're like, okay, this is gonna be some fucked up shit. And literally, the poster actually tells you so much without telling you nothing at the same time.
We should do a whole podcast just on posters that give away the ending to the movie without you realizing that that's the end of the movie. Because there's a few of them out there. I'm not saying that's Daniel Isn't Real as one, but there's a few of them out there.
The movie was produced by Elijah Wood, Daniel Noah, Josh Whaler, and Lisa Whalen. So it had a lot of producers backing it up. And it's just one of those, you must see this movie. It's a very good movie. It came out 2019,
I think it's out on DVD or Blu-ray and everything now.
Yes, and it's totally worth the buy, worth the watch. We don't want to really discuss any more of it because it's, you got to go into it fresh.
Yeah, it's unlike the rest of them on here. It's not a decade old, so most of the others everybody on here has seen by now. And if you haven't seen it by now, you're probably not going to. But Daniel Isn't Real, you should definitely run out and see. Yeah,
on my end, this movie is one of the most recent ones.
Yeah.
So we actually only had 4 films that made both of our lists.
All right, so let's start with you, and you give me one of yours.
Blackcoat's Daughter.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, 2017, Oz Perkins, who is Anthony Perkins' son.
Yeah, and this one was originally called February, but they changed the name of it because by the time it was going to be released in the U.S., it wasn't going to be able to be released in February, and they were afraid people would think it was like a Valentine-themed movie and not go see it. So they changed the name to The Blackcoat's Daughter.
I don't know how it would fit February. I mean, we saw the movie a while ago.
I think it actually took place during like a break from their classes, but that was the original name of it, was February, and then they changed it to The Blackcoat, which I like The Blackcoat's Daughter better, but there were a lot of people who saw it like on festival circuits and it was called February, and for them, like, that was the title.
Yeah. It's a psychological horror, and Osgood, Oz for short, Perkins, you may or may not have seen his other work, but he had done another movie which is called All the Pretty Things in the House or some shit.
Something like that.
We did not like that movie.
It was too slow.
It was so slow. But not to, this is another, I don't want to say cult-ish, but
it is a little bit, and
kind of.
It's also kind of a slow-paced one as well. But yet, this one I feel like it really pays off in the end.
Oh fuck yeah, it pays off in the end. It's definitely a slow burn. I actually described the movie earlier today to someone. I was like, hey, you need to watch this movie. Emma Roberts, and Kiernan Shipka star in the movie, which Sabrina, and everyone knows who Emma Roberts is.
Yeah.
They're both in the film. Yeah, little indie film. Just going about doing its little thing. There are some very fucked up images in the movie, and it does take a completely different turn. I thought it was one thing, and then it completely did a 360, and it was something completely different.
180. If it was a 360, we went all the way around that circle and then back to where you started. So,
oh yeah, that's what it did to me. That's exactly what it did. I was all fucked up. You may or may not hear our another cat. We have 2 now. She's joined the podcast, Layla,
and she's attempting to crawl on the computer as I restrain her. So
yeah, she just wants to type away. She wants to order some more, soft food. But she's really about that. So, yeah, that's Blackcoat's Daughter. Check it out. I see, it's so difficult because I really want to like be like, the movie's about this.
Yeah, but you can't without spoiling that one.
But I don't want to spoil anything because it's just one of those. But I'll read the description.
Okay.
During the dead of winter, a troubled young woman embarks on a mysterious journey to an isolated prep school where two stranded students face a sinister threat from an unseen evil force.
Yes.
Bum, bum, bum.
But yeah, that was one to check out because it's, like I said, it's very creepy, very slow burn, but it pays off in the end.
It sure does.
All right, now next one is The Cabin in the Woods. And this was one that they finally got released in 2012, but it had been shot years before. It had been sitting on the shelf for like almost 4 years, I think, because they shot it in 2008.
Wow.
And it didn't get released. It finally got released when Joss Whedon got the Avengers, and he started picking up traction for going to be, doing this new great big blockbuster movie. And they were like, "Oh, he's got this other one we can release right beforehand and capitalize on it a little bit." It was supposed to be converted to 3D at one point. That didn't happen, and by the time it came out, some of the people in the movie that were nobodies were big stars, so they were able to, get a little extra box office out of that. But it's the classic story of a bunch of drunken college students decide to go to the cabin in the woods and have a party. Bad things start happening to them, but this one actually explains why the bad things are happening, and explains it in a very crazy way that I never saw coming. It took me a minute to figure out what the actual fuck was going on in the cabin and why they were doing it. And when you realize that everything that's happening in the cabin is just somebody's job, that somebody is just sitting around somewhere figuring out all these things to do, it just becomes hilarious. It reminds me of the old cartoon about the coyote and the sheepdog that are both working at the same place to attack the sheep. The coyote punches in the same time clock to go try to steal the sheep that the dog is punching in to go guard the sheep. It's like they're all just playing a game,
Yeah. I love the movie too. Going through the house in Halloween Horror Nights was freaking amazing because they did a fabulous job.
Did a great job with that.
You walk into the cabin it was like you're on set. It was great. I hate the fucking ending. I hate the ending. I was so mad. I was just like, Joss Whedon, how dare you? But it's so Joss Whedon.
But that's the best ending for that movie because they can never do a sequel to it. They might come out and do a prequel at some point, but you can never do a sequel to it now because of the way it ends.
Yeah, I see that. But not every... obviously, that's, what a director, or not a director, but that's what people want when they're making a movie. A lot of it, they want to make a sequel.
Yeah.
But I just wish they'd just gone in a different direction to explain why it was that way, as opposed to, I don't want to say a cop out, but I don't know. I wasn't really fond of it. I loved the whole movie. And then the ending was disappointing to me.
Yeah, they could have done something different with the ending, but I think this way it comes out just is even crazier because you realize that they, their actions really had severe consequences. But I love all the characters in it. I love the two guys that are, in charge of orchestrating all the things that are happening to them. Like I said, they're just so blasé about everything, where they're betting on it and they're like, hey, how come I didn't win? I had zombies were going to get them. No, you had zombies. Redneck torture zombies or who came after them. There's a very fine line. That kind of crazy shit. It was just it was everything you wanted to see. It explains why every slasher movie was important.
Well, my next choice is a film that I just happened to just be sitting around one day going on Netflix, and I saw this movie come up called Creep. And I was like, oh, it has Mark Duplass in it. And I fucking love Mark Duplass. Let's see what this shit is about. I watched it probably for 20-25 minutes and I fell asleep. And when I finally came to, I was like, didn't I start watching a movie? Turned it back on and watched it, and I was like, this fucking movie is crazy. Mark Duplass, This movie actually was going around circuit 2014, but it wasn't officially released in 2015 until 2015. It's one of three films. The first one, the first one 2014, 2015. The second one 2017. I'm dying to see what is happening in the third and the last film. It was co-written by Mark Duplass, and it was actually produced by him and Jason Blum. And I didn't really, it's a dual production company, which I don't think you really see that a lot, but Blumhouse and Duplass Brothers Productions actually did the film. It's, an independent found footage film. At that point, you're like, oh, another found footage movie. But it so pays off because Mark Duplass, it's literally like a 2-person cast.
Yeah.
And this guy, he goes and he answers an ad for someone that needs a cameraman. And he shows up, expecting... God knows what he was expecting. Someone needing a cameraman. He did not expect that the person that needed a cameraman was actually a serial killer.
And then what's crazy about this one, though, is there's so many times that he could have just left. He could have just picked up his camera and walked out, and for God's sakes, don't ever agree to talk to the guy again. But he just stayed, He just stayed because you're like, what's going on with Mark Duplass? Like, what is going on with him? You just want to know, and you're sucked in. He's so charismatic. He's everything that, I don't want to say everything a serial killer should be, but he has that, je ne sais quoi, like, what's his face? Florida / other guy. My God, what is his name? Ted Bundy?
Yes, Ted Bundy. He has a Ted Bundy appeal.
But yeah, and it's just like you can tell that the guy just doesn't want to feel like socially awkward by leaving, and he should have just left.
Yeah, he should have just left. And there are some very uncomfortable and awkward moments in the film, like cringe-worthy, but you just can't look away. That definitely was definitely on my list because I didn't stop thinking about it. Like I told you, I saw a little bit of it and then I fell asleep, and as soon as I woke up I was like, wait, I missed the whole fucking movie. I was so exhausted. Let me put this shit on again and watch it. And I saw it, and then I was like, I have to share this with everyone that I know because everyone needs to see this movie. And it took off. Obviously there was a sequel. And the sequel's just as good. You don't know where it's going to go, but it just takes you in a whole other direction. And the ending is really what makes the movie for me. Like, the ending of the first one. You're just like, mind blown when he opens that fucking cabin and you're like, oh my God! So if you have not seen this film, you need to see it. It may still be on Netflix.
I think it is. Alright, my next one is actually 2 movies that I kind of consider one. And that's...
Halloween and Halloween 2?
No, Insidious 1 and 2.
Oh, wait, that's not within the last 9 years, so yeah.
Yeah. Those 2, to me, just kind of flow together perfectly and make, like, one long movie or, like, miniseries kind of thing. And it was kind of, the first one was out, before The Conjuring and all that. And I don't know, just the way the characters reacted to everything, I really loved it. Because I love the fact that when, this is one of the few movies that when they're like, okay, this house is haunted, there's crazy shit happening to us, we're moving. And they just pack their shit up and move. And you rarely ever see that in the movies, Now, of course, it didn't really help them because, as it turns out later, it's not the house that's haunted, it's the people. But at least they tried,
Yeah.
They were like, you know what, this place is haunted, we are the fuck out of here. Bye-bye. Which makes sense, And then... the ending of it kind of left you on a cliffhanger. And I thought at first it was going to be one of those ones where they were not going to resolve it. There wasn't going to be a sequel, and it was just going to drop out there. But then, the sequel comes along and picks up right at the beginning of the other one, right at the end of the other movie, I'm sorry. And I really like all the scenes where they're out in the further, and it's just a really... the only thing I don't like about it is the Darth Maul looking demon.
Darth Maul or / Balthazar if you're a Charmed fan.
Yeah, either one of those. Like, they could have been a little different design for the demon. But other than that, I really enjoyed both movies.
I enjoyed both movies as well. it did open that whole universe for the rest of the films that came through. And Lynn Shane's in it, the godmother of horror. You got Patrick Wilson, you got Rose Byrne, you got a really strong cast in it. The kids, the kid does a good job too. You really, it's just one of those, like, it's the first one's like The Sixth Sense in a way, because all the clues are in his bedroom and you don't notice it because you're like, oh, that's just a kid's drawings. But like in the drawings in his room, when they enter the first time, you see like his outer body adventures in those drawings, like him leaving his body and going, and it's just like the fucking evidence was right there. You're like, that's just a kid, he's an imaginative kid, he has a great imagination.
Well, and then in the second one, it explains things that happened in the first one that you were like, oh, okay, now I see why this happened and what was going on, and it tied in perfectly. It was really good at wrapping everything up.
So there wasn't a third one to that. There was the Keys one,
and then they did a fourth one as well, I believe, but they were both prequels. They did a third one where it kind of went back and explained Lin Shaye's character, and then there was a fourth one that kind of continued with it. But they've never gone forward with the story; they've always gone back.
Yeah, there's someone on on the list that actually directed that film. One of the directors that did one of the other films that we just discussed directed that one too. I just can't remember who it is. But so my next movie is one that I did not think that I was going to be into, and that's The Devil's Candy.
Oh, yeah.
Which Sean Bryan or Byrne probably, directed and did, and he also did The Loved Ones. And I really enjoyed that movie because it's another cult one.
Kind of.
It's kind of cult / Satan? Demons?
Possibly.
Demon Satan? There was like a point where like heavy metal, like there was a lot of heavy metal horror coming out. And this is one of them, and I actually I was really taken back by the film. Like the whole, like when the guy shows up to the house, because he's after like the little girl,
and he's so calm and collected and so kind of meek looking that you don't really suspect that he's just like a crazy psychopath,
That shit fucking got me to the core. And then they're like in the middle of fucking nowhere. But at the same time, all that's happening, the dad is like obsessed with like painting the fucking painting that's
he's trying
got
to
him
finish this one painting no matter what,
Yeah, all enthralled in the fucking barn, and the painting is like freaking overtaking his life. It really surprised me because I didn't think I would like a movie like that. I usually don't like a lot of things that could happen and in real life, which obviously was the whole kidnapping part. And that really creeps me the fuck out, and especially when you're out in the open. Like, the film did a good job of making you feel like you're there, and also making you feel like the isolation of being in the middle of nowhere. Like, you can't just run to your neighbor or like yell out,
Yeah.
No one's helping you. There's no one around to like help you out in that situation. Really, there's hopelessness. And it really captured that for me. The story is a great story. It's so crazy because not a lot of people... I don't remember a lot of people talking about it. And it's one of the ones, like, we saw that film together.
Yeah.
And that film came out in 2015. Satanic forces possesses him, and after they move into their dream home, and it's an IFC film, distributed by IFC, which they really distribute a lot.
Yeah, they do a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, lately they've done a lot, and it's Ethan Embry. That was the other thing. Like, I was like, oh, Ethan Embry, like, he's my 90s guy, and he's like buff and crazy looking in this film. He's not, you know, the little Ethan Embry that you saw way back when in Can't Hardly Wait. You know, he's not that Ethan Embry.
He's not that guy anymore.
And the guy that we're talking about, the sinister guy that like comes to the door, that like kidnaps, it's Pruitt Taylor Vince. He was mad convincing. Oh, and Shirley Appleby's in it from Roswell. She's the mom. So yeah, there's, you know, recognizable people in the film, and it's definitely a must see. It's one of those IFC midnight ones. I really enjoyed it. They did a good job, and it really that's another one like you're not gonna be seeing a sequel for that.
No.
So, what is the next movie on your list, sir?
Mine is Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yeah, I love that movie. That's another random Netflix. I was like, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna fucking put this on.
Well, Tucker and Dale asked the question, every movie, it's always kids go out into the woods and they meet up with evil rednecks that try to murder them. What if it was the rednecks that were out in the woods just minding their own business and it was evil college kids that were trying to murder them? That's the whole thing of Tucker and Dale versus Evil. It just flips the whole script, and it's just two innocent redneck guys that want a fishing cabin, and they run in afoul of terrible college students who are just there to murder them.
Sort of. When I compiled the list, I did not put horror comedies in there. Because this would have totally made my list if I would have included that. This and What We Do in the Shadows, because I love both of these films.
Yeah, that one, we'll finish this one and then... But yeah, there's so many just crazy images in Tucker and Dale versus Evil where you just, like, did I just see that? Did that guy just run into the wood chipper?
Yeah. And he's like, like the reactions are just so beautiful. I'm like, where's my fucking sequel? Like, why didn't this ever become a sequel?
Yeah, it's another one that was filmed for like a year or more before it finally came out, too. It just kind of fell in the cracks, I think. But yeah, it's hilarious just watching all the characters' reactions to everything, and just see it. Like, I think one of my favorite scenes is the part where he's trying to talk to the girl, and he's standing there holding a giant sickle and laughing, kind of like while he's holding the sickle, trying to talk to her, and she doesn't understand why she's creeped out and runs away.
Yeah, they play at all the like stereotypical things that you would see, and you see it from like the college kid's perspective, and you're like, yeah, they fucking look like psychos. Like, they're the fucking ones that are going after.
From their perspective, they're just two dudes. They're like, why are those guys so freaked out? They just don't get it.
They don't get it at all. Even when they fucking show up in the cabin, because it's like someone else is doing the murders. They show up in the cabin, and the cabin is riddled with like all the terrible things that are happening, like that happen in there with the fucking clippings and all that other stuff.
It's your stereotypical murder cabin,
and they take everything and put like a positive spin, and they're happy about everything because they don't see it, because they're so innocent. They don't see it in that kind of way.
Like, there's a lot of history in this cabin. They don't realize it's all murder history.
That movie's really funny.
All right, what's your next one?
My next one is, let's see, I'm gonna go with The Witch.
Ooh.
Robert Eggers. 2015. That was a good year for me for horror films. 2015.
Yeah, and that one is another one that, like, I wasn't quite sure what it was going to be when I went to see it, and well, it really took me by surprise. And it, again, it's a slow burn one. It takes its time to get there, but then when you get to the ending, it's so worth it.
The film is not for everyone. It's historical horror, and Robert Eggers is not fucking around. He literally read so many different journals from the time period that it takes place in, down to like the language that they're speaking, like the kind of English, quote unquote, that they're using is actually a dialect that was actually used at said time. He went like above and fucking beyond. It made you feel this is not a movie. You're literally taking a glimpse in how people live their lives and what people thought back in the day. And I effing love this movie. Probably it's my favorite movie out of my list, because I love history, and I love how fucking nerdy and thorough he was with the film. It really makes you feel like, down to, I mean, everything. Everyone's acting is phenomenal. Like the fucking set design, the clothing, just all the things that, like, mixing like fictitious witch lore with the things that people actually thought, like, oh, you know, you cracked an egg and there was blood in it, you know, there's a witch around, or, you know, the red ribbon, like all that stuff that they thought back in the day. Like, he like took all of that and then was like, no, that shit is true, because there's fucking witches in the woods. And you're like, whoa. And even the point where they show what the witch is doing in the woods, and like her like daily, I'm gonna say regimen, but like the things that she's doing, it really fucks with your mind. And again, it's one of those films like regular Joe Schmo who's going in. It's like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I'm gonna give a little time warp here. My mother went to see the Rocky Horror Picture Show with my dad when it was released. She saw this film in Harlem, New York, okay? Everyone in the theater was expecting this was going to be a horror film. When the movie started and they're singing and you freaking see all the crazy shit and it's not a horror movie, people were mad AF. They were fucking throwing popcorn at the screen. Like, it was a riot-esque situation where my mom was like, we gotta go because things are getting mad crazy. So it was kind of like that situation, but not as dramatic, where people were going in and thinking this is going to be a horror film, you know, about a witch and it's going to be mad scary. But then they get all this like history behind it, and you can't even understand really what they're saying in the film, because the accent and like the language, the dialect of it is so heavy. And there's a lot of the movie where, I don't want to say it's whisper, but probably got loud because I'm Spanish, so when I get excited about something, I kind of elevate my voice. Yeah, I can talk about this movie all day long. Love the movie. Saw the movie 3 times in the theater, and that's saying a lot, because the movie, I own the movie, and it was like I had to put the subtitles when I saw it again, because you miss a lot of what they're saying, because of the dialect is so, you know, heavy. I mean, the accents and whatnot. But this was definitely on my list. And I have one more movie after this, and then my list is done.
Okay. You might have more than that, because I don't think we've covered them all yet. My next one is one that I saw on Netflix called The Invitation. And it's another one where it's like a socially awkward situation. The guy is called to, and he's going to go have a dinner with his ex and a bunch of friends of hers and some of his he hasn't seen in a long time. And they go to this dinner, and again, this is a slow burn one where you're just kind of watching them go through this awkward dinner, and the guy trying to avoid having a panic attack, and you're like, is anything going to happen in this? And then all of a sudden, the crazy shit just cuts loose, and it doesn't stop. And then this, you know, I don't want to give away the twist of this one, but at the end of the movie, you realize just how crazy everything was. That, you know, it's even crazier than you thought. And I really like this one, because it just is one of those ones that, again, this is one of your cult ones, but you could kind of see how you get roped into this, because again, you get there, it's very socially awkward to just pick up and go, yeah, I'm going to go, this is weird. So you end up sitting there trying to just make your way through the evening, and by the time you realize shit's going bad, it's too late, you know?
Wasn't this movie directed by a woman or written by a woman?
Both, I believe.
Yeah. We did, I watched it on Netflix, and yeah, it was a pretty decent movie. It was pretty decent. There were a lot of awkward moments in the film.
Yeah, that's one, like I said, it's one of those ones where it's just like, oh my god, really? And then you're like, when you see what finally goes on, you're so just blown away by it that you just can't stop watching. So that was another one of mine.
You're right. I have two more. The next one is another random Netflix thing. Netflix was killing it at one point with the films. The Taking of Deborah Logan.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Directed by Adam Robital, who did the Insidious The Last Key. He's the one that did that one, and he also did Escape Room, which we did cover, and my favorite Paranormal Activity, the one with the kids. He did the Ghost Dimension, the one I actually don't like. Okay. My bad. But really, really like this movie. 2014 film. Another, I wouldn't say found footage, but like a documentary style. People are going out, they're doing a thing on Alzheimer's, and they're going to interview this woman that has Alzheimer's, and they go in trying to do one thing, and it completely goes far left.
Yeah, they didn't go where they thought. They ended up getting a lot of footage they weren't expecting to get.
No, they weren't.
This is hands down one of the has one of the creepiest images, and I'm sure everybody's seen it floating around in GIFs and everything by now. Where that scene happens, and you're just like, "Oh, what the fuck is going on?"
Yeah, and that one, I wouldn't say it's a cult. Well, no, it kind of was a cult.
Yeah,
a cult / like satanic possession or whatever.
Yeah. Well, one led to the other.
Yeah, one did kind of lead to the other. You don't fucking see that shit coming at all. I was just dumbfounded.
And this had one of the things I love too, where there's a guy who just stops and goes, "This is getting too fucked up for me. I'm out of here." And he just packs all of his shit and he leaves. And I'm like, that is a smart man right there. He realized he was getting in too deep, and he was just like, "Fuck it, I'm not dying for this movie," and he left. I'm like, that would be me right there. I want to think I'm the guy that when I start seeing way too much creepy shit going on in the house, I'm just going to go, y'all let me know how this works out. I will send you an address for you, Cindy, and my shit that I left behind too. Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's the guy I always wanted in the horror movie. That fucking one with the common sense. It's like, I'm fucking out. And, the movie, my grandmother has Alzheimer's, so it really, it's like when you watch The Visit and you're like, oh shit, yeah, that does happen when you get old to some people. That all those things, do actually happen. So they're like, explainable things.
Yeah.
But then, it
goes a little bit further.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we thought it was this, but this is actually what's happening, and this is why she's losing moments of time. Because she's being fucking overtaken and possessed. I really, really like the film. Also, like I said, on Netflix, so definitely, most of these you could probably catch on there. Definitely stream one way or the other.
All right, my last one on my list is another one. I think it was from 2015 or 2016, and it's Green Room. And this one, I love it when they get actors to play against their type. And when you get Patrick Stewart, who's so well known for playing Captain Picard and Professor X and all these kind of nice guy characters, and you get him in there just playing a mean as fuck neo-Nazi, he just goes wild with it, and it's great because he's such an evil guy, but he's so calm and quiet, and he doesn't really raise his voice. He just tells people to go murder people, and they go do it. This is one of Anton Yelchin's last films, and it is really a nail biter if you want to use that one, because it's so tense with them. Just all they want to do is just go make a little bit of extra money at this gig, which, like you said, is way out in the middle of nowhere. So once you're out in the middle of nowhere and you're isolated, you get out there and they find out that this gig is for a group of neo-Nazis at their personal clubhouse. They end up playing the gig and accidentally witnessing a murder. And then they're literally trapped in the green room for the movie and trying to get out. And it just gets worse and worse for the band as they go. And there were parts of it where I was just like, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. You really just want to see something happen good for them, and it's a tough movie to watch because not much goes their way in it.
Some people might dispute the fact that this is not a horror movie, but a lot of the movies that we actually discussed, I mean, especially the ones on my end, when you look them up, they're categorized as other things. It's like when you listen to a song and it's like, this is pop rock, and you're like, is it?
Yeah, I mean, you could call this one a thriller, but to me, there was enough like grisly elements in this to call it a horror movie. Because it's one of those horror movies to me, like you said, that I could put this into the category of that shit could happen. You could accidentally run afoul of some crazy neo-Nazi guys and end up way in over your head.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart does an amazing job in this film. Like, it's just like, oh, shit.
And I love the little details where they realize that, like, anyone that has red shoelaces has killed someone for the group. That's how they identify him, is with the red laces. Anyone wearing red laces has killed someone for the group.
I forgot about that.
And it's like, oh shit, that's very subtle. Like, you wouldn't notice it because they're just wearing tennis shoes,
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my list.
Well, my last film is actually a film that came out the last year of the decade, and that's Ready or Not.
Ah.
We saw the trailer, was like, I'm all about this. That just seems so intriguing about this random, this regular game that people play and it becomes murderous.
It's Clue with more murders.
Yeah, I like the fact that you don't really know per se, like, what time frame. Like, the look of everyone, the look of the house and the look of everyone's clothing is set in a certain time period, but it's actually modern. All-star cast. You have Annie McDowell, you have, like, the freaking guy from, what is it, the OC, Adam Brody, Samara Weaving is in it. I mean, there's just so many people in the movie, and they all did a great job. The film is another cult-ish movie. Satan. I guess, we just say they're all Satan movies, because in the end of the day, like, what is the whole point of the cult if they're not worshiping, like, Satan, right? Or isn't that technically more or less not like this religious zealots, like, cult? Like, it's just like
kind of
Satan and the power that we can get from Satan, per se. Pun intended, because technically, more or less, that's exactly what the movie's about. But they take an intriguing turn in describing, like, the fame and fortune that this family has is due to that they have a certain ritual that they do every time someone new joins the family. And you have Samara Weaving, actually, she's getting married on the property, and you kind of get like in the beginning, you kind of get the view of what the kids, which you would find out would be the husband to be, who's the son in the family, what he and his brother went through one night, the last time this occurred, or probably the first time that they actually knew, like, found out, oh shit, this is what my family does. And it's so crazy because the whole family's in on it. No one really has an issue. Like, the sister's kind of fucked up. She's all over the place mentally. You don't really get whether or not that's because of what's happening. She's just a lush, and she's just like, spoiled rich girl that has nothing better to do with her time. And just Annie McDowell is just so pleasant. She can, look you in the face and just give you so many compliments and then just stab your ass in the back. And there's a lot of points in the film where, she gets away, the Samara Weaving, the main, I want to say the main character, but the bride, who has to deal with, what this family has put upon her. But not to give too much away, but it's definitely a must-see. I really enjoyed the, twists and turns with it. It was very clever on how they went about, the whole down. I mean, every detail. I love like set design, and this house is gorgeous. And it has like everything you think one of those like old time mansions would have. They have like all the tunnels and fucking backways and like secret areas. It's very Nancy Drew like kind of house. So, and it has a positive ending. Ish. It's one of those happy endings, which
Sort of.
and it's in a clever way. Again, I don't want to. This is not the only family that does this. There are other. It's kind of not insinuated, but there's other families that do a ritual like this because that's how they've obtain their fortune.
Yeah.
So they can just do one other classic board game with another family and have a completely different scenario.
Yeah.
But with the board game. So I like the fact that there is a potential of there being a sequel if there wanted to be. And that's one of the things, like, I don't want to see every movie be a sequel or a prequel, but there's just some where it's just like, it wouldn't be tiresome if they did that, because there are so many other board games out there that you could create a whole new story on how this family has to do what they need to do in order to maintain their lifestyle. Or it can be something else. Like, it doesn't have to be necessarily fortune. But that is the last movie on my list. So I got two kind of like 2018, 2019 films.
Yeah, so that was our list of our personal picks for the top of the decade. Let us know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Did we miss one? Like you said, What We Do in the Shadows, that's also a really good one. And I gotta say, I think I kind of like the TV show a little better than the movie at this point, because you got to spend a little more time with the people on the TV show. And the TV show is crazy and I love it. I think I like it a little bit better than the movie. The vampire werewolf fight alone was worth it.
Oh yes, I love both. I love the movie. I mean, now and I'm gonna fuck this name up, but Taiki Wakiki, Tahiti Wakiki. He has gone to do so many things after the success of his film of What We Do in the Shadows. So I really, it was just good to see that, he's gone off and, has been very successful in his own right. And the TV show is pretty good.
Yeah, he's doing The Mandalorian and everything else now.
So season 2 of What We Do in the Shadows is probably filming right now, or probably showing it right now. It's kind of like FX. So
no,
I
don't think it's coming out until like March or April. So
okay, so we have some time to
catch it.
Try to figure out how we're gonna watch it.
But yeah, let us know what you think about our list.
All right, well, stay tuned to the horror, guys.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.